Good day. It is October 10th, 2025, and I think the state of Ohio has seen a decided change in temperature to where it's more fall-like. The summer temperatures we were seeing all the way through till Monday of this week have disappeared, and we've the discussion including frost. So we would expect to see large amounts of leaf fall, any of those annual plants taking a serious nosedive and a change in the craziness that we've been dealing with. The only thing in the northern part of the state is, and I don't know about the rest of you, we saw rain early in the week and we've not seen anything since, and the forecast still has no rain in it. Online today, we got Dr. Tyler Carr, Dr. Dave Gardner, and Pamela Schratz. Dr. Gardner, weeds.
Oh, I hate this. You're recording and I don't have sharing permission. There we go. All right. So here we are in what would now be the middle of October. And I know it doesn't fit the business model for lawn care operators, but just a reminder that if you have troublesome perennial broadleaf weeds, now through the middle of November is actually a better time agronomically to try to control those. The herbicide will actually translocate downward into those parts that make the perennial weed a perennial, whereas in the spring, when you make those applications, you tend to get 50 to 75 days worth of control, and then the plant regenerates from those below ground structures. Now, people who sell herbicides will tell you, oh no, that's a new plant that came from seed, but we're pretty sure that it's because you're not getting adequate translocation in the springtime. So while that is effective, it's less permanent. Whereas a fall application, if you're trying to actually get rid of the weeds, you can get much longer term control. A side benefit of that is that you also control winter annuals, which given our recent spat of dry conditions, the turf is a little bit thinner than historic averages, and so winter annuals are more likely to be a problem for us. Here's an image of a area to the right where I sprayed a herbicide on the 20th of November. It was 43 degrees. It was misting. And this is the following spring. And do you see how it is completely weed free, whereas on the left, well, that's what the area looked like before. So all the bare soil areas were what was the perennial weeds that were controlled. This held like this until the following October. And so 11 months of control versus, 75 days with a spring application. Now, 43 degrees and misting sounds like an irrational set of conditions to make the application, but if you think about it, control, one of the things that affects that is how much of the herbicide gets into the plant. And when you make an application when it's really hot out, you only get the herbicide into the plant so long as it's in liquid form on the leaf. And so if you spray and then it's dried, 20 to 40 minutes later, you had 20 to 40 minutes to get the herbicide into the plant. Under the conditions when I made the application, it had all day to get the herbicide in. So that's one of the reasons that was more effective. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating that you wait for it to be 43 degrees and misting, but now is not a bad time to attempt to control weeds. Just make sure you're using the right kinds of herbicides. And by that, I mean the ester formulation. You can tell by looking at the label. Those are the ones that work better in cooler weather. They're more effective for control of weeds. We don't like to use those in the summertime because of the volatility hazard, but they're more effective overall for control of weeds, and now is the time to use those products. That said, since part of Ohio is in a drought, you have to be careful if you're making these applications and the turf is drought stressed. That's going to vary based on several factors that I have listed on this slide. But just know that since herbicides can cause some phytotoxicity to turf grass, make sure that it's in good condition when making those applications. Now, I always like it when people email or call me and say, hey, Gardner, for this particular turf team times, you should talk about this, because sometimes I'm, kind of struggling for ideas for content. So somebody said, talk a little bit about chelated iron for broadleaf weed control and also the side benefit of it greening the turf. Well, chelated iron is a quote unquote organic product, non-pesticidal, that can be quite effective for the control of broadleaf weeds if used correctly. Now, while there are chelated iron products that we use to green up the turf, to make it prettier for golf courses when they're going to be on television, ironically, the chelated iron that we use to control weeds It's a little bit stronger, and under the wrong conditions can actually be a little bit phytotoxic to the turf, particularly tall fescue. So you have to be careful in warm weather, but at this time of the year, that's not so much of a concern. There's several products that are available. However, all of them are exactly 26.52% of exactly the same form of chelated iron. And the use rate is 25.2 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet, mixed in 240 gallons per acre, which again, it's pretty consistent product over product. Many years ago, we tested different application schedules. The challenge with using this is that it's a contact herbicide. So, how do you control a perennial weed with a contact herbicide? Well, so the thought was maybe multiple applications would extend the window of control. And so we tried two applications in the fall, followed by two applications in the spring versus just three applications in the spring. And we did different gallonages and different concentrations of the chelated iron. And what we found was kind of cool. So this is right before we applied the chelated iron, and this is the day after. And so, day zero, day one, it works very quickly. But again, it's a contact herbicide. And so the control is going to be temporary. You will begin to see some recovery of the weeds within 2 to 3 weeks. And so that's why we were doing this repeat application schedule. Now, note here that you do see a greening of the turf somewhat. But again, in warm conditions, you have to be a little bit more cognizant, cautious. It can actually cause a little bit of injury to the turf. But again, that difference is pretty dramatic within 24 hours. But we found with making multiple applications, this is 56 days out. So November after we did those September applications, and yeah, it looks pretty clean. But what we ended up finding with that is that three applications in the spring, 3 weeks apart, gives better long-term control than two in the fall and two in the spring. So you're only making three applications, not four. Unfortunately, control is a function of the amount that you apply. And I say that because, well, in an organic product, they're catering to a specific market. On a cost per acre basis, they're not exactly giving this product away. I'll just put it that way. But again, we found that three applications, 21 days apart, we could get control up to 100, 120 days by following that program. So that's an organic alternative. But again, any perennial broadleaf weeds that you are having a problem with, don't let them sit until next spring. Hit them now, either with what I was just talking about or with a traditional herbicide, but make sure it's the ester form. And a side benefit is that you'll also get winter annual broadleaf weed control as well. And that's what I have for today.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. Dr. Carr has a question. I know that
Yeah,
everybody.
Dr. Gardner, 240 gallons per acre in a lawn care setting is
Oh,
like a
yeah,
magnitude
it's
higher
not.
than what they would typically be spraying
Yeah,
at.
this isn't widely adopted by the lawn care industry. In most cases, there are companies that do specifically, cater to the organic market, and they've got the equipment that's necessary to do that. But yeah, 240 gallons an acre. What if I'm doing the math correctly? That's like 5 gallons per thousand
Hmm.
square feet. It's a lot. And so
Yeah.
again, the primary market for this is those homeowners that are concerned with the use of synthetic herbicides. That said, I've also talked to, people who work in, for municipal golf courses, and there's enough interest in, managing the golf course with these alternative products that, they're seriously looking at it. But yeah, you're not going to use one of those right-on sprayers to make these applications. Well, you could, it's just not going to be to very many square feet.
You're going to fill up the tank at every property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner. I know you got a meeting to go to, so feel free. It's been emotional, Dave. Dr. Carr.
Okay, guys. I'm going to try to touch on two things. One's research based and one's about the OTF conference. So I'm going to share my screen here. So Dr. Gardner mentioned that he gets calls, texts, emails about covering certain things, and I've had a couple asking me to share some of this, and some of you may have seen similar similar info. We have a graduate student, Bryn Johnson, who's working on some community level sports field research, primarily focused um, on high traffic Kentucky bluegrass and tall fescue. So a lot of sports field managers don't have a lot of control over how much play is on their field. They can control some of their cultural practices like mowing and fertilization. So what we started last year, what we're continuing this year is mowing um, Kentucky bluegrass and tall fescue in separate areas at either 1.5, 2.5, or 3.5 inches. Um, and uh, Please attend one of Bryn's presentations at some point for more detail than what I'm going to give here. But I just want to give like a 30,000 view snapshot of what we're seeing here, strictly from a mowing standpoint. Um, you can see that these white squares are mowed at 1.5 inches. That's mowed weekly. I mean, sorry, 3 times a week. Blue's 2.5 inches, mowed twice a week. And this orange is 3.5 inches, mowed once a week. We understand not many people are going to be mowing at 3.5 inches on an athletic field. So what we do is we go out 3 times a week and apply simulated athletic field traffic. With this machine, one pass is equivalent to one game of traffic um, on the 40-yard lines in between the hash marks. So really those high traffic areas. And so we're focusing on 3 games of traffic per week for 11 weeks in the fall, simulating a um, like a high school practice football field. And what we've seen so far is that lower mowing heights have better traffic tolerance. So this trial started in mid-August, and you can see here, this is late September, this image. These lower mowing heights or these higher mowing heights with the orange, 3.5 inches, is has much, much less green coverage than these lower heights. And this year, we so far haven't seen much of a difference between 1.5 and 2.5 inches, which is for Kentucky bluegrass, which is different than what we saw previously. Um, so one thing that we have noticed is it was hot and dry for a while. We saw steady decreases in coverage. Then we cooled down for a little while. We had some cooler temperatures in the morning, and everything has ramped up and looks a lot better than this. But we got over an inch and a half of rain at our facility um, this week, and we've been running traffic over it, so we expect that to really decline moving forward. This is tall fescue. Ignore this rep right here. This rep did not establish well in the spring. And there's a tree over here that has some roots that are probably causing some challenges. Same setup, but you can really start to see, uh, in addition to the mowing heights causing some differences for sure, you can see within these mowing heights different colors, different shades of green. And I'll just point in, zoom in a little bit. We have different fertilizer rates that we're applying from 0 all the way to 5 pounds of nitrogen over the from June to October. So ranging from um, a tenth of a pound, actually 0 pounds of nitrogen across the whole trial area, to a half a pound of nitrogen applied every 2 weeks. And we're seeing that you can see that there's more coverage with higher N. But what we're seeing in tall fescue particularly is that a lot of this is POA annua that we're seeing pop up, which is very common on tall fescue athletic fields for you to lose some coverage and that POA fills in. Big limitation of tall fescue for community level athletic fields. It has its benefits with reduced irrigation, but causes some challenges, particularly with POA, whereas bluegrass seems to be a bit more traffic tolerant. So I'm going to switch gears and go just give us a brief overview of some things with the turf conference coming up. Um, this group has on here has put a lot of work into building this program. Less than 60 days out for the OTF conference and show. Just want to point out a couple things. I'm hoping Dr. Nangle can shed some light on this as well. Let's go into the education. Um, so you have pricing on the website here, and early bird registration is ends on 21st. So say $50 by registering early, and you save money if you're an OTF member. So keep an eye on that. There is group registration discount. If you have 5 or more people, click on this, fill out the short form. You'll automatically get emailed a promo code. Gives you 20% off. So in addition to the early bird. And then our education program, you can see this all on the website. Try to think about where you want to be during the conference. Something I want to point out today that we will, and I'll talk more about the conference in the next Turf Team Times, are some of the things that we have going on Tuesday that are a little bit different. We started some of these last year. If you scroll down into Tuesday, you'll see as people are getting into town, from 3 to 5, we have these banter sessions, and these are cool, interactive, um, a little less formal than a seminar would be, where we have these leaders in these different areas that are leading this discussion about these topics that we have here. One that's really cool this year is this banter on how to be and not be a greens chair. And Dr. Nangle, I was hoping that you could take a couple of minutes and just kind of talk about what this is and the benefits to superintendents and greens chairmen.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Carr. So this one is a conversation that we kind of run into on a regular basis, where particularly on the superintendent side, there's a lot of frustration for them because they will come across the idea that they will be communicated to and not with. And the idea is that in reality, when it comes to managing turf, the vast majority of the people that are managing golf courses, sports fields, or parks and rec are fully trained and professional by definition. And so that does make things rather frustrating. However, from a hierarchical standpoint, conversations are not looked at as being equal. Now, we've had a very rough summer from a disease humidity standpoint, and already I've heard of some unfortunate circumstances occurring which were beyond the superintendent's control. And what we're looking at with this specific topic is the idea of how to be a leader, not just within your club as a member, but also how to be a leader and a person who works closely with the people that are putting your property in place and doing their job in a way that they treat it as a business every day rather than something that's pleasurable or a fun activity. And so when you look at the entities that are there, Zach Nicoludis is regional agronomist for the USGA. He sees a lot of golf courses on an annual basis. Adam Morris is the current club president at Lakewood Country Club here in Cleveland. Just gone through a big renovation. And Sheldon Solo is somebody who I've worked with over the years. He would have led the Chicago District Golf Association and has been in golf courses and memberships for all his life. And Sheldon is someone who's gone through this area or this topic in multiple different occasions. And the aim here is, from a superintendent standpoint, Sheldon and Zach and Adam are all taking a very balanced approach, but making sure that when you turn up and attend as a superintendent and you bring your club leader with you, whether it's the president or whether it's the Greens Committee chair, that there is some very straight talking is going to be completed or carried out about why or why not things are done a certain way, and what is the rationale behind it. And ultimately, it's a supportive network to also help the leadership in the club grow and develop with their location to allow for optimal conditions to occur. And so it's a real supportive approach from our standpoint. And it'll allow for open conversation and maybe open eyes for people who may not have heard some of these things previously from experienced people who are seeing multiple different courses or who've gone through this for an extended period of time. That would be kind of our aim with it.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Nangle. And something that we're doing as well with this is offering complimentary 1 day registration to those on the golf course management leadership side. You'll see some emails going out to the golf chat, the GCSA chapters in the next week or so, or send us an email and we can get that form to you that you fill out so these people can get that complimentary registration so they can attend with you, the superintendent. So something we're excited about. With most of the traditional education being on Wednesday, Thursday this year, this is a great opportunity to come in the afternoon. If you only want to be there for Wednesday, Thursday, come in the afternoon. Come to this band or one of these banter sessions. There'll be kegs of beer there. Interact with these groups and get a good start to your conference. All right, I went long, but it was
All
good.
right. I didn't help. Pamela Sharat.
Good morning. So it's the last day of class for the first session. We're halfway through the semester today, and I'll be taking my class to OSU Athletics to see what they're doing over there. But from a sports turf perspective, high school, soccer, baseball's wrapping up, and baseball's wrapped up, and the professionals as well. So we're getting to that time of the season where normally people would be out renovating like crazy. Unfortunately, we had some rain. We had considerable rain in central Ohio this week, but we are going into a dry period at least for the next 2 weeks. So I would say if you are looking to do any kind of renovation, now is the time because the soil is moist enough to be able to poke some holes. Coreificate people out there, coreification now, whether it's lawns or sports fields. The ground is soft enough in order to be able to do that. I would just say if you're doing that in conjunction with seeding, we're kind of a little bit too late to seed, but I'm an optimist and I think really we've got a window right now. The window is open right now to get some seed out, get some holes poked in the ground, obviously cover that with something, whether it's good quality topsoil, sand if you're on a sand-based field, some kind of mulch if you're in a lawn care situation, and commit to the next 2 weeks to keep water on those surfaces. As Ryan May once told my class on a visit, whether you're successful or not in turfgrass management depends really on whether you can put water out. It's too much water is a problem, but no water is an even bigger problem because turfgrasses need water. So I think if we could commit in the next 2 weeks to sort of go full on maintenance, coreification and seeding, following on from what Dr. Gardner said, of course, though, if the goal is right now is weed control, make sure that the products you're using don't inhibit or injure seedling turf grasses. If you're on a sports field and you're looking for quick recovery, perennial ryegrass is obviously the quickest option. But Kentucky bluegrass will germinate in a week if you are giving it some everything that it needs: fertilizer, irrigation. As Dr. Carr said, and I saw this with my traffic studies when I did them so many years ago, is that those lower mowing heights will tend to help with better tillering and more density. So frequent mowing as soon as you can once you've got grass established is important too. I did touch briefly there on fertility. I guess I can ask you guys too. I mean, now is the time in October if we're looking for recovery to get some fertilizer out. We have kind of moved away from the late season fertilizer application recommendations done around Thanksgiving with quick release sources of N. I think from an environmental standpoint, we've sort of moved away from that recommendation a little bit, but I think right now we really do need recovery. So now would be a great time to get an application out to help with seedling development, seedling establishment, and recovery after the drought we've just had. But again, that's if you put the effort in now, similar effort has to be given to some kind of irrigation because we don't have anything forecast for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Pam, something that is on our side, I guess, when it comes to seeding, and I'm looking on my other screen, is that ET for the next week is relatively low. So if we do need to apply irrigation, we're looking at maybe only applying like 1/10 of an inch a day during that establishment phase. ET in Columbus over the next week is about 3/4 of an inch. During the summer, it's upwards of 1.2, 1.3 inches. So it's a lot more water in Ed's neck of the woods, and in Cleveland, it's 0.58 inches. Gonna get a little bit of a cool down up there near the lake this week.
No snow yet though. Um, just to follow up on that, there's two things. Well, there's also benefits to this, folks, right? For those who are like, what the hell are you talking about? Uh, with the lack of moisture, Dr. Wu not on, but that has severely impacted the amount of insects that have developed. Now, for those of you who are going, I got insect problems, the skunks have appeared. If you have irrigation or you've been applying water, then yes, you are going to see some insect activity in that instance. But in the situation where we've been, and I didn't realize quite how long it had been, we had rain prior to this week, about 2 weeks before that. And I met with the superintendent in the intervening period, and he had indicated to me his record showed that we had not had rain for 56 days before that. And that is incredible, folks. So when you look at the drought monitor for the state, it is absolutely brutal, and it's not getting any better, right? When you look at that, the amount of area that's now in extreme drought is far larger than it was a couple of weeks ago. And so for the homeowners, again, if you're frustrated because the seed is not popped and you're like, the guys didn't do it right, da, 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 if you have not watered 3 to 5 times a day, maybe not so much in the last week, but prior to that, to get it established and growing, then that's going to be something that you'll have to look back at and go, did I help to get that lawn recovered or established the way I needed to do it? Now, for those of you who've had water and managed it properly, it has been fantastic, where conditions have allowed you to establish and germinate. But if you have not, like Pam said, there's probably a very small window still to get some late panic seeding done, as long as you can get it down into the ground somehow, not leave it sat on top, and get it to establish from there. So with that, the fact that we have limitations on the disease or insect front, we've also had limitations on disease activity. The water and rainfall has reduced any rust that was there, and now with the reduction in temperatures and the continued or returning dry conditions, there's not going to be much of an issue we're going to see with disease developing in the current setting. Now, we're not talking about snow mold, we're talking about things like dollar spot, leaf spot, rust, right? So we're not quite into snow mold weather just yet. With that, folks, I'll wrap it up. I know we've gone pretty long today. We have one more, we think, probably in 2 weeks' time based on the current weather conditions. And like Dr. Carr said, feel free to take a look at the OTF website. And then, as Dr. Carr just posted, there are our contact details if you have questions, our social media activity. And that will be also continuing over the next, well, as we go forward. With that, say thank you. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.